This is a story about an abused woman who had the courage to call in the police. A story about how vital a role the police can play in protecting victims like her, and how devastating the consequences can be when they don't. This is Charmaine's story. What injuries did you sustain?
I lost my teeth because he smashed me in the face with my teeth. He come up behind me and his hammer just went bang in my face. I had hammer marks all over my head. My face was just a mess.
It all began one night in August 2011 in this Cardiff block of flats. Charmaine, her two young children asleep, has confronted her increasingly abusive partner Chris about a suspected affair, and he lashes out.
He picked me off the floor by my throat, lifted me straight up in the air like that, punched me in the eye, and he just dropped me to the floor.
What injuries did you have at that stage?
Strangle marks and a black eye.
She called 999, and at first the police were quick to respond. Christopher Veal, whom she'd been in a relationship with for 3 years, fled, but Charmaine would make a statement against him, which took courage, because she knew he was living at a bail hostel after spending time in prison. She thought, she says, for armed robbery. In reality, he'd been convicted of rape and a range of other serious offences. He was on the sex offenders register and out on licence. The police knew all this, but astonishingly, apart from a couple of hours that night, the time they spent searching for him around his separate address over the next few days would amount, apparently, to little more than 10 minutes. Part of the problem, seemingly, is that the police computer systems held all of this information about him, including the rape conviction and the potential threat he posed. And yet, on 3 separate occasions, it appears, this absolutely critical intelligence was just left off reports and risk assessment forms connected to this case. Also, some of those meant to be supervising Veal in the community, including the probation service, just weren't alerted to this clear breach of his licence. So 3 days after the initial assault, and this high-risk sex offender, still on the run, returns to confront his increasingly distraught partner.
We went back into my flat and he pushed me on the sofa. And my little boy was screaming. My daughter was crying. And he says, drop the charges. And I said, no, I'm not going to drop the charges. I don't want you to hit me anymore.
Now in a highly distressed state, she appeals once again to the police, calling 999 repeatedly from a nearby village, her children beside her. The police, with all units already allocated, take 2.5 hours to reach her. Then at the station, the officer dealing with Charmaine calls Veal to warn him to stop harassing her, but in so doing reveals exactly where she is and what she's doing. And as the IPCC report finds, that exchange must also have served to increase the risk Charmaine was facing, because now Veal was being told by the police that she was indeed pressing ahead with her complaint of assault against him, and that was precisely what he didn't want to hear. Did you get a sense when you were in the police station that the
I felt safe because I was in the police station.
Did you want to stay there, or
Yes.
where did you want to be at that stage?
I just wanted to stay there at that time. I felt good. It was the first time I felt good.
But it was short-lived, because this officer failed to do any checks on the police databases, and therefore didn't realise Charmaine's partner was a convicted rapist when he took the decision to escort her and her children back home. And that's remarkably where they would end up again, alone, in the very place where she'd been assaulted just a few days ago, and, as this very distressing account records, was about to be once more.
He said, put the chain on the door, you're safe. I heard the lift go down, the police officer, but I heard the other lift come up. And I heard my front door come crashing against the hall, being banged right off the hinge. And there was my partner with a claw hammer. He said, "Come here, you bitch." And he smashed me with a hammer. He again hit me. I tried to run out onto the veranda to scream, and he locked the door. And my phone was on the dining room table, and he stole my phone. I tried to run out the front door, and whilst he told my daughter to stop her brother from screaming, he carried on hitting me with a hammer in front of my 2 children. I remember him standing behind me and the hammer coming at the front of my face and knocked my teeth out. I've lost all my teeth. And I woke up unconscious. There was blood all over my baby boy.
Her scars, for the most part, have healed. It's been nearly 3 years now. But she still suffers, she says, from occasional memory loss. Veal was finally caught and taken back to prison. The full IPCC report, a copy of which has been seen by Channel 4 News, identifies a catalogue of failings, including what it describes as a continuing thread of low-level performance involving at least 7 named individuals, ranging from control room personnel to officers in the local public protection unit.
I trusted the police to help us out, and they didn't help us. I trusted them, and I begged for help. I begged and begged.
And there's one other very alarming aspect of this story. Because Charmaine had suffered a serious injury and because she'd been in contact with the police beforehand, South Wales Police was required to refer her case immediately to the IPCC for investigation. But they didn't. In fact, it would be a whole 15 months before the IPCC got wind of this case. And that was only because Charmaine, who's since moved to North Wales, tracked down her MP to alert her to what had happened.
Charmaine herself is a very courageous lady. I'm so pleased she actually came to me and my office, but to be honest, as she says herself, had that not happened, the police themselves had not actually referred the case to the IPCC in this case, and that is immensely concerning.
And then he started getting angrier.
And there is a final, and for Charmaine, deeply unsettling postscript to this story. Christopher Veal, who twice previously attempted to take his own life, was found hanging in his prison shower room 2 months after being sent back to prison for breaching his licence. He had been due to face trial for the assault on Charmaine. Can you give me a sense of the emotions that you experienced when you heard that?
Yes, I can. I laughed. And I went, yes! And then I hit the floor and just cried. It was like, yes, he can't hurt me anymore, but he's gone. I've had no justice.
What did you want? You wanted him convicted?
I wasn't even allowed to go to his funeral. I even wanted to see his dead body, so I knew he was dead. And he would come and get me. I wasn't even allowed to do that.
The Independent Police Complaints Commission is expected to release a statement on Charmaine's case tomorrow.
Well, Andy Davis joins us live. Have South Wales Police said anything in response to this scandalous situation?
They have, John. This evening they sent us a statement in which they've issued an apology. It is clear, said the Deputy Chief Constable, Matt Jukes, that we did not provide the victim in this case and her children with the care and protection that she needed at a critical time, and we are sincerely sorry for that. Over recent years, we've worked incredibly hard, he says, to improve our response to incidents of domestic abuse. And whilst this has come too late to support the victim in this case, we have good evidence that it is providing a much improved response to victims of domestic abuse now, helping to keep them safe.
And what about disciplinary charges against the police officers?
Well, we understand that one officer is to face a misconduct process, and we're told that performance failings, as it's been put to us, will be addressed with 4 others. 2 others have already left the force. So there is evidence, to be fair to South Wales Police, that there have been improvements, and that was recognised by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary recently, who rated South Wales Police one of the better forces in this regard. But they still face another IPCC investigation regarding how they dealt with other victims of domestic abuse, and the details of that are yet to emerge. But already what the IPCC Commissioner in Wales, Jan Williams, said left her with a sense of revulsion. So that could prove very damaging for this force. And one final thing, John, why didn't the force refer this case immediately to the IPCC on the day that it happened, on that day that that assault happened? Because they had to. They should have done that, but they didn't. And I asked them this morning the question, why didn't you refer that? And we're still waiting for that answer.